Welcome to Pardon the Penetration. I am Jay.
And I'm T.
And this week, we're going to talk about France fines Google nearly 57 million as the first major violation of GDPR. A bicycle riding hitman convicted with GPS watch location data is the 10-year challenge of Facebook scam. And attackers used a LinkedIn job ad to penetrate a network.
The Democratic National Convention thinks that Russian hackers have targeted them right after midterms. There's a new hack going around where hackers are using PayPal to phish for ransomware, and there's new malware out there that's evading detection.
Okay, new week, same stuff. So the first article that I have is France fines Google nearly 57 million for the first violation of new European privacy regime. So for those of you that do not know what the GDPR is, it stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It came into effect in May 2018.
Yes.
It was introduced in April 2016, but basically it applies to like European citizens. I want to say it applies to European citizens and residents, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of this directive is for companies to be more clear and about how they collect people's data, what they do with their data, how they use your data also. So it's about consent. Along with if you ever had a data breach, you have to report that data breach within 72 hours, along with the fine for a breach under GDPR.
Pretty hefty.
Yes, up to 4% of annual global turnover, or 20 million euros, whichever one is larger.
Yeah. And it doesn't just affect companies that's based in Europe. Anybody who deals with any European citizens' data can be punished under GDPR.
Yep. So what we're saying is not law, but please Google it if you would like more information. Yes. The GDPR can get really complicated. So with that definition of what GDPR is, Google has been fined nearly 57 million by French regulators for violating Europe's tough new data privacy rules, making them the first major penalty brought against a U.S. technology company. So the reason why France top data privacy agency known as CNIL on Monday they said that Google failed to fully disclose to users how personal information is collected and what happens to it. Google also did not properly obtain users' consent for how they use information. As I stated before, GDPR has to deal with, consent, meaning that you have to opt in to give your data to them. Google's obviously, made a statement saying that, their top priority is privacy. They don't have, malicious intent with using people's information. So I personally believe that they're just trying to make an example out of Google.
Yeah.
And this is probably just going to be a domino effect.
Yeah, they have to set the precedents. Like, they have to show that they are serious about this. And Google's the first one. And what's a bigger name than Google right now?
Facebook.
Yeah.
But they started investigating Google in May 2018, like the same day that GDPR became effective. Privacy groups already filed grievances against Google, Facebook. So I guess like I said, a domino effect.
Yeah, this was coming.
Facebook better watch out.
Yeah.
But
so on the topic of European countries, the Democratic National Convention thinks that there is the same Russian hacktivist group that leaked those WikiLeaks and the documents back in 2016, that they also tried to attack, that they targeted and tried to attack them recently in 2018. They were posing as a state official. They sent out spear phishing campaign. For those of you who don't know what spear phishing is, it's a targeted attack at specific users within a company, just like the normal phishing. that happens, but it's more specific to that actual individual that's receiving the email or the attack. It was a PDF. It was a PDF which had malware laden in it, and they were hoping to, probably get somebody to click on a link, access some credentials, and then from there they'll be able to get, some of the Democrats' documents and things like that. Good news is that they didn't get breached at all. They were able to detect it and stop it before it happened. So we do have a success story with some of these phishing attacks that's going out there.
Yes, it feels so good to talk about phishing and knowing that that it didn't work. So I guess this is an example that phishing campaigns do work.
Yeah, especially when you train your users and they're aware and they're able to detect it, and also you have the right software in place to detect malware.
I wonder why their email system didn't pick up on the PDF.
Probably did. That's probably where it probably could have came from there.
Okay. Well, it feels good to finally have a successful story about phishing. So the next article I have is bicycle riding hitman convicted with GPS watch location. Both of us have on Apple Watches, and they pretty much kind of tell your whole life.
Yeah.
So in this article, the picture of the guy was actually running like a marathon. So he runs marathons, he rides bikes, but they had 2 murders and he was a suspect. After they did the search warrant, went through his house, they seized the watch. The watch data was able to pinpoint him at the location of when the actual murder took place.
The scene of crime. Wow.
Yep, and it along with like the speed he was going, so it correlates to the time of what his actions could have been at the time of the murder. So if someone were to get your Apple Watch right now, what would they know about you?
They would probably can tell where I've been traveling to for work. Actually, well, yeah, mine kind of has GPS in it, so they'll tell where I'm traveling, when I'm working out, things like that. Probably my time captures all that data, like my cell phone. We get notifications. I turned it off, but used to get notifications telling me how long it would take me to get to work, and I never put in my work address. So all that geolocation and biometric data is being stored somewhere and being processed.
Yeah, so even though it's not security per se, it still falls along the line of digital forensics.
Right.
So this is our PSA. If you plan on committing a crime, leave the smartwatch at home so you don't get got. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And as they are catching these criminals in more sophisticated ways, criminals are also being more sophisticated. There's actually a new phishing campaign that's been going out with ransomware. And as you know, ransomware is when people will take your data, they'll encrypt it, and then they'll hold it for ransom. They'll tell you, hey, we need X amount of money or else we're going to delete this data or we're going to leak it out. And some people, number one rule is never to pay the attackers. Some people have paid them. I've seen it happen where I worked at my previous companies where, our customers got hit with ransomware and they paid it. Well, in this case, what they're doing is they're setting up a PayPal link, which is a fake PayPal link for them to actually pay. They're moving away from the cryptocurrency and they're expanding out to other currencies and other avenues. And once you put in that PayPal information, you're putting in your login credentials of PayPal. You're also putting in your credit card information and things like that. And now, along with telling you they're holding your data for ransom, they're also capturing your credit card data. And then at the end, they capture your personal information as well.
Why do you think they're getting tired of the Bitcoin scams? Because they're getting all these old people. Old people don't even know what Bitcoin is.
Yeah, I think it's confusing. People are like, oh, I need to buy this much of Bitcoin. It may take too much time to get them to set up. And, PayPal, something that everyone's heard of, PayPal, Stripe, things like that. And mostly, if you haven't heard of it, it's easy to set up PayPal. So you put in your credit card information. Now they can also sell that on the dark web.
Yeah, most people have a PayPal, so it's really easy. But speaking of people scamming people, the 10-year challenge. Did you do the 10-year challenge?
No, I didn't do the 10-year challenge. Did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Definitely did not. Is the 10-year challenge a Facebook scam?
I don't know.
It's all scamming to me, especially when it comes to Facebook.
Come on,
man.
It's a challenge. It's social media. It's a challenge. Can't be that bad.
That is what TBT is for. What is the difference between TBT and the 10-year challenge?
Hey, it's 2019. New hashtag for it.
They did say that the CIA and the FBI created the selfie, It's just another way for them to get you in their facial recognition database.
So this what it so
Come
this
on.
what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
So imagine that you wanted to train a facial recognition algorithm on age-related characteristics, and more specifically on age progression, how people look likely, when they get older. Ideally, you'd want a broad and rigorous data set, maybe you trying to go for a specific time, maybe 10 years to see what they look like in 10 years. Boom, let's make this challenge. And, social media just has like a very large effect on the psyche. So of course everybody's want to do it. Facebook did come out with a statement and say, that it has nothing to do with them. Like, they didn't start it. It has no impact on us. It doesn't benefit us in any way. And I guess Facebook does use facial recognition, I guess, to tag people in pictures. But they say you can turn that off at any time.
Okay.
Still feel it's a scam. Definitely. How all of y'all magically just want to show what y'all look like 10 years. What's TBT for? Now they done built this whole database of your eyebrows evolving in the last 10 years. That's pretty much it. But I don't know. Between makeup, like, I look like a different person every other month.
But like I said, I think it goes to the depth and just the progression there. It's not just gonna be like a blank painting and they can pull it off from there. I think it's a little bit more that goes in depth for them being able to tell who you are, even though you have makeup on.
It's gonna be a hard time when it comes to people of color because we look like you say you don't age.
Right.
All right.
Oh, so everything that's going on with Facebook and social media and things like that. Apple, we told our horn saying that we're the most secure in our phones and things like that.
We're the most secure?
Yeah. Well, actually, another way to toot our horn is Android actually found 2 more apps that will have a malicious pay code in it. It was 2 apps called Currency Converter and Battery Saver Mobi. They were both apps they've been removed, but they're both apps that was in the Play Store that was linked to the Anubis malware. That's a banking Trojan that was going out. And what it was doing was the Anubis acts as a downloader to download malicious code. Well, these 2 apps were bypassing any malware detection because what they did was they would look at the motion detector, the motion sensor data that was being collected, and it would scan the device to see if it's being collected. If it's not being collected, then they know that they're being ran in a sandbox environment where there's not any real actual live data going on. So Anubis would not kick in to try and download. If it did capture that it was collecting the data, it would then kick in and it would start downloading malicious pay code. So then it could steal credentials, take over the device and things like that.
Well, Android, if you had an Apple phone, it's already built in to save battery life. But I have nothing against proprietary devices.
Right.
I know people don't like it because they're trying to customize their whole life, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just always interesting how hackers will go through the extent, like the fact that it's going off motion detection.
Yeah.
That's intricate.
Yeah, they're evolving. As like I said, as before, as we're getting smarter, catching them, they're doing the same thing. It's just it's a struggle, and it builds both sides actually.
All right. Well, speaking of people trying to scam people, attackers used a LinkedIn job ad and a Skype call to breach a bank's defenses. This happened in Chile, the country. The senator came to Twitter to announce that the country's ATM interbank network, the bank's name is Red Bank, had suffered a serious cyber attack at the end of December. The cyber attack, so Red Bank is responsible for all of the country's ATM systems. And this is how it happened. Back in December, an employee saw a job for a developer on LinkedIn, and they decided to respond back. And, the attackers, they set up a whole interview for them, a Skype interview. During the Skype interview, they got the victim to download a file called application.pdf.exe, which subsequently infected the employee's computer. The purpose of the malware was to explore the network for possible security gaps and vulnerabilities, but the bank's intrusion detection system must have went off, and they blocked it. So this is a different type of social engineering. I don't know what will possess you. Why do you think it's okay, one, to apply for a job on the company computer?
I don't know.
And two, well, I don't know. You definitely need a job now.
Yeah, they're definitely out of a job. They're definitely searching for one.
But how? Okay, so this is not the average social engineering, right?
No.
This is off of a LinkedIn, meaning that this is your personal LinkedIn. You're going off of this. How do you think that they can mitigate this security risk?
Well, now you have to, block the access to all these
Social
other websites.
media.
Yeah, social media, all these other websites. At first, you think LinkedIn is harmless, but now, with stuff like this happen, now we got to think about, blocking it for users that's not supposed to be using it.
It's funny when I try to explain to people like what I do. I just be like, "You ever wonder why you can't get to Facebook at work? Like that's my job." But like you said, blocking social media, I guess would be, but that's the last thing you need to do. It's unethical for you to be applying for jobs. Like at least bring your own computer. Don't use the company's computer. Look for a new job and then put a virus on there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine them trying to call your last employer to verify your job?
Why you got fired? Because I was applying for another job and I downloaded a malicious PDF.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any church announcements?
No church announcements.
Normally the church announcement segment is when we would announce like any call for papers, any conferences, scholarships.
Anything that's going on in our lives that's exciting for you guys to know.
Yeah, so we blessed every day.
Yes.
But no extra blessings came through this past week. So that's about it.
Yeah, this has been Partnered Penetration. I'm T.
I'm Jay.